We have many races around the country, even though it's an off year, that are going to be really important just across the river, of course. We have the governor's race in New Jersey, and others. People might really enjoy going back and listening to my interview with Daniel Nickanian from, I guess, a week and a half or so ago, where he laid out a lot of the races that are important. I mean, Omar Fateh, another race that we need to be supporting. I was really happy to see that our girl Ilhan Omar has been going hard for him in the final weeks. And it was kind of like the AOC strategy, right? Getting more attention when it's the right time to.
And people really need to turn out for socialist Robin Wansley in the Ward 2 election in Minneapolis, who is facing a challenge there from the establishment. We need Robin to win too. So if you're in Minneapolis, particularly in Ward 2, or know people in Ward 2, get him to lock in.
Absolutely. Let's start here because it's been over 2 weeks, or at around 2 weeks since, the ceasefire was announced, although Israel continues to violate it and bomb and kill dozens of Palestinians a day in Gaza. They
yeah, it's an interesting ceasefire.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing in
drop
Lebanon.
Bombs on people.
It's the ceasefire holds because there is completely there's disproportionate force on the Israeli side, and everybody knows it. So they have to make sure that they're not being bombed into oblivion, seemingly allow repeated violations of the ceasefire to keep the genocidal, rabid country happy, to maintain the bloodlust. They are breaking the Lebanon ceasefire. They're breaking the ceasefire in Gaza. And then they'll blame Hamas. So it's just, this is how Israel operates. And they continue to block aid from getting into Gaza. The trucks are not getting in at the level that they are supposed to be. When have we heard that before, even though there is supposedly a ceasefire? The international press, as I mentioned, has not been allowed into Gaza. There was a statement that was put out, I believe, by the Foreign Press Association, because the Israeli Supreme Court, shockingly, I know you'll be shocked by this, said, it's not time for international reporters to go into Gaza and document the genocide, perhaps uncover the true death toll and the reality of the destruction. UNRWA is still being blocked from getting in. It's the only organization that has the infrastructure that could adequately address the humanitarian crisis there, and they are being blocked. So the situation remains immensely dire in the Gaza Strip. But then we turn to the West Bank. Oh, I should also say, Israel controls over 50% of Gaza at this point. They have drawn this invisible line and have been shooting at Palestinians on sight as they try to cross the invisible line into the essentially occupied territory of over 50% of the Gaza Strip when they're trying to go back to their homes. Israel hasn't said has given vague notions of where this kill line is, but not being very clear. And they're just gunning Palestinians down as they try to go to their homes, which they, for all they know, is just rubble at this point. And then there's the West Bank. As a reminder, Israel has illegally occupied the West Bank and East Jerusalem since 1967. They illegally stole the territory. And since that time, more than 700,000 Israelis have have stolen homes and land and have put up settlements in the West Bank and in occupied East Jerusalem. So, and formal annexation is all but that. It is only really just a formality, right?
If you're literally taking somebody's house that they used to live in and saying, this is mine now because of who I am and who you are.
And that's exactly how they did it in 1948. It's the same thing. So this is a formality, but then the question is, why the formality? The formality is that 2 days ago, the Knesset voted 25-24 to advance a bill that would basically say that Israel has sovereignty over what they call Judea and Samaria, and what Bill Clinton and Mike Huckabee will call Judea and Samaria, which is the Jewish fundamentalists' way to say that this is Jewish land only, but it means the West Bank. And they advanced a bill saying we have sovereignty over the entire West Bank. Netanyahu and Likud did the most unconvincing protestation of it, but knowing that the far-right ministers were spearheading this effort and that it was going to pass, because it doesn't even matter if they formalize it. Netanyahu's government's already doing it. Then the question is, why formalize it? And I saw that Maryam Zazstein, who writes for Crisis Group, is a really good reporter on this, was positing that it was a way to try to humiliate Netanyahu or embarrass him into more bloodshed because J.D. Vance was in town at the time. And Trump has said publicly that West Bank annexation is a red line because they're obsessed with the Abraham Accords. They want to codify the Abraham Accords, and the other states in the region say that this is our red line on things like that in terms of formalizing our relationship with Israel. So here is J.D. Vance on the tarmac basically saying, why would the genocidal government of Israel do this while I was in town?
West Bank, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll do, yeah.
The West Bank vote yesterday that took place while you were in the country.
Oh, yeah, that was weird. That was weird. I was sort of confused by that. Now, I actually asked somebody about it, and they told me that it was a symbolic vote, some symbolic vote to recognize or a symbolic vote to annex the West Bank. I mean, what I would say to that is when I asked about it, somebody told me that it was a political stunt, that it had no practical significance. It was purely symbolic. I mean, look, if it was a political stunt, it was a very stupid political stunt, and I personally take some insult to it. The West Bank is not going to be annexed by Israel. The policy of the Trump administration is that the West Bank will not be annexed by Israel. That will continue to be our policy. And if people want to take symbolic votes, they can do that. But we certainly weren't happy about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's when he says we're not happy about it. It's because of the Abraham Accords. Let's be clear. It's not because this administration has an iota of humanity towards the Palestinian people. They are Trump's personal wealth is tied up in money with other Arab states that do not want the West Bank annexation for selfish reasons too. One, because Israel's obviously deeply unpopular in these countries. If there's any semblance of democracy or like any, discontent within their population about this, they might have to answer to it, even though many of these governments, of course, are incredibly authoritarian and undemocratic. But two, because if it pisses off these governments, Trump can't make as much money as he wants when they're doing crypto deals in Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. And of course, all of these arms deals and other ventures with the Saudis. So that's what they're really upset about. But we're happy that supposedly a line is being drawn there. But it's just so, I think it's weird. What do you mean weird? This has been the reality of course, the past 2 years, the past over 100 years. It's not weird. It's actually the most obvious thing the most obvious outcome that could have been anticipated, that Israel is going to try to formally annex the West Bank. One state is what they envision. Netanyahu held up a map at the United Nations showing that the West Bank was a part of Greater Israel. I don't know who this is fooling, but he talks just God like he's like the most online young right-wing boy, and I think that's who they're targeting. By the way, with all they feel like they can sustain their political constituency with young men. So, but it doesn't translate in like his whininess. In when you hear him talk,
well, because it's
versus
weakness.
Like on Twitter,
they have to mask weakness on this, which is it is all the only thing that's different is the symbolism of is this formally recognized or is it not? Because when you're waving through giant new settlements and having people continually kicked out of homes, and the settlers, like we see in the Jasper video, walking down people in their fields like the hills have eyes. Like, it doesn't matter really if you're not going to do anything to stop any of that.
Yep.
So like, be insulted by it, but you're insulted because the Israel right is doing what it always does, which is says we're going to grab all that land, and no one's going to stop us.
And the reason
And
that
they have.
Right. And the reason that they're even protesting here, I would argue, is probably because they are much more interested in seizing the Gaza Strip and building this like capitalist casino thing that Trump keeps talking about. I mean, he's brought Jared Kushner back into the fold, and we played the clip of him at Harvard around 6 months into the genocide talking about the value of the real estate on the Gaza Strip being a beachfront property. I mean, you see how just 50 miles north, Israelis are playing volleyball in the zone of interest country, and just down miles beneath them, a genocide is happening, and that coastal property is quite valuable to them. Although, interestingly, the yellow line that Israel is drawing here, it's their farmland that Israel had been occupying, the more fertile areas right now.
They pushed them up against the beach.
Yep. So that is another, obviously, colonial tactic, is to continue to push the occupying population into smaller and smaller territories.
Makes them easier to starve again later.
So to translate that, their only concern there is that this might get in the way of the Abraham Accords efforts and the enrichment of Trump and their buddies with their new Middle Eastern friends. This has nothing to do with protecting the Palestinian people. We'll continue to monitor this as well, but none of this is going to change unless we cut off arms and cut off support. You know, you hear there was like some Zionist podcaster that was saying, we don't need you, like insulting JD Vance. We didn't play it, but
no more Iron Dome. No more none of that.
You
Good
want to
luck.
try that?
Sink or swim.
Exactly. I would love if we had policy that, you know, followed through on those statements, but they're so arrogant because they know that Zionists have bought our politics here in the United States. And even if they say that, even if they act like they're strong without U.S. support, they need us.
Yeah. The amount of hysterics you'd see if Iron Dome funding was significantly threatened. I'd like to see it. I welcome that. That's called leverage.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.